1930, Edmund Michael Innes sent an extensive report from Athens to Gramophone Company, with which he was professionally affiliated. The document, based on his field research during April and May of that year, combines commercial, legal, and musicological observations concerning the record market in interwar Greece. The letter was discovered in 2010 by researcher Hugo Strootbaum in the EMI archives and was subsequently published in an edited form spanning 165 pages. Innes, a British national born in Cairo in 1897, worked as a legal assistant and commercial representative with a specialization in trademark law. Although based in Athens, the contents of his letter indicate that he had direct insights into developments in other cities. His extensive discussion of Thessaloniki is especially significant, as the city had served as a multicultural recording center for the Gramophone Company since 1909 and was a hub of commercial activity. At that time, it was still part of the Ottoman Empire and was annexed by the Greek state in 1912. In the section titled Representation, Innes focuses on the role of Georgios Kissopoulos as his master's voices agent in Greece. From their first meeting, Innes records Kissopoulos' distrust towards the company. He emphasized the lack of commercial support, the pressure to invest without guarantees, and the difficulty of selling products that were not well suited to the local market. While Innes acknowledges his associate's honesty and dedication, he ultimately considers him inadequate, lacking organization, social networking, and commercial acumen. He explicitly recommends Kissopoulos' replacement and condemns his absence of a basic strategic vision. Innes devotes a brief but pointed section to his master's voice's virtually non-existent advertising strategy in Greece. He records that Kissopoulos deliberately avoided advertising, admitting that he sought to suppress demand in order to avoid the burden of maintaining stock. Innes highlights the lack of coordinated promotional efforts, the failure to seize publicity opportunities, and the company's absence from cultural venues such as theaters and cinemas. His master's voice's pricing policy in Greece suffered from serious flaws. Innes remarks that the prices charged to Kissopoulos left him with inadequate profit margins. The issue was further exacerbated by high import duties. The report also contains a detailed assessment of his master's voice's recording sessions in Greece, particularly those held in 1928 and 1929. The results are deemed unfavorable, with financial losses attributed to the high per-record cost, limited sales, and a low release-to-recording ratio. Innes criticizes Kissopoulos' strategy of mass-releasing new titles without corresponding support in sales and advertising, which led to market saturation and declining per-title revenue. Although the aim was to rapidly build a competitive catalog, the material ultimately failed to gain traction. Sales are classified into 8 repertoire categories. In absolute numbers, modern music, including operas, operettas, and contemporary songs in Greek, comes first. However, serenades and manes, that is an Eastern-style vocal improvisations of various subtypes, demonstrate a much higher return per title despite being recorded less frequently. The term rebetika is explicitly mentioned and appears under the category popular songs, which is defined as light popular songs of non-traditional modern inspiration. Rebetika and folk songs maintained steady performance, but the lack of advertising and limited targeting of rural areas hindered their commercial potential. Innes proceeds with a brief comparative analysis of the record companies operating in Greece at the time. Although his master's voice had initiated the recording activity in 1909, its competitors, particularly Odeon and Columbia, had secured a more stable and dynamic foothold in the market. Odeon recorded twice yearly in Athens and supplemented its output with European sessions, following current musical trends. Colombia drew on both local and Italian productions, while Polydor and Pate stood out for the quality and curation of their selections. In contrast, his master's voice lagged behind in speed, technical specifications, commercial strategy, and repertoire choices. Ines delivers a sharp and well-substantiated critique of his master's voice's recording failures in Greece during the period 1926 to 1929. He highlights serious technical shortcomings: low recording volume, poor balance, improper placement of musicians in the studio, and the inexperience of the British sound engineers. The lack of expertise in both Greek repertoires and on-site recording conditions led not only to a substandard product, but also to growing distrust among artists, who abandoned percentage-based royalties and began demanding upfront payments. According to Ines, the only exception was the November 1929 session conducted by Arthur Douglas Lawrence, which exhibited noticeably improved quality. Nevertheless, even then, Pate produced superior sonic results with the very same titles. Ines regarded the Greek catalogue as well-balanced, carefully incorporating popular, folk, and classical repertoires. The issue, in his view, lay less in the repertoire choices themselves and more in poor timing and an inability to respond swiftly to market developments. Chisopoulos recorded hits that had already been released by rival companies, missing the momentum of first publication. Though he managed to compile a catalogue with lasting appeal, he neglected the importance of promptly identifying and promoting new hits. He worked with a contractor of outdated taste, ill-suited to modern genres such as tangos and foxtrots, and maintained weak or non-existent relations with artists. As a result, he recorded titles with a delay of 6 months or more in a market where release speed was a paramount importance. Ines meticulously documents official figures on record and phonograph imports into Greece, noting a remarkable increase between 1926 and 1929. However, he points out that these figures underestimate the true scale of the market due to widespread smuggling driven by high customs duties. A similar rise is observed in the importation of machines, especially in 1929, evidence of the rapid growth of the Greek recorded music market. He analyzes the musical preferences of Greece's social classes. The working class, making up 60% of the population, favors Greek language music, both urban folk popular and folk styles. They also enjoy operettas, comic songs with repetitive refrains, and tangos, not necessarily as dance music, but as melodic songs. The middle class, that is 30%, shows a broad range of tastes, from Italian opera and Viennese operetta to Greek theatrical and popular songs, film soundtracks, and exotic instruments such as Hawaiian guitars. The upper class, 10%, is portrayed as superficially refined, displaying a snobbish attitude towards Greek music, even though it retains a sentimental connection to it. Their tastes focus on Western compositions, classical works, tangos, and foxtrots, often guided by fashion. Ines attempts a musicological classification of Greek popular repertoires, distinguishing between traditional and non-traditional genres. The term popular here does not denote commercial success, but rather refers to music associated with rural life or the urban folk culture of the cafes and working-class dance venues. Traditional genres include folk songs, related dances, and manes. Non-traditional genres encompass rebetika, songs of refugees and the urban underclass, as well as cantades, that is, serenades, considered the highest form within the popular spectrum, clearly influenced by the Neapolitan and Venetian musical traditions. One of the main obstacles for the gramophone company in the Greek market was its strict policy on intellectual property rights. Although much of the traditional repertoire was in the public domain, special arrangements or orchestrations often required royalty payments. To protect the company, Chisopoulos had established a standardized declaration whereby participating artists attested that no rights holders existed or that their remuneration covered any arrangement claims. Unlike other companies, Gramophone incorporated copyright fees into the overall production cost, which discouraged it from recording high royalty songs, often the most commercially viable titles. In contrast, competitors shifted the responsibility for rights to their local agents and granted them additional discounts, allowing greater flexibility and faster access to popular material. Despite Gramophone's middling performance in Greece, Ines emphasizes the promising prospects of the market. The country's path toward modernization, the population's strong interest in music, the richness of its repertoires, and the high level of consumption make it suitable for commercial expansion. Even remote and island regions could be integrated into the network, provided that access to credit is improved and that a broad sales infrastructure involving active local merchants is established. Market success does not depend on individual hits, but on a continuous flow of releases that reflects the country's cultural and geographical diversity. There are seasonal fluctuations, such as reduced sales in summer and increased demand for portable gramophones and dance music, while competition remains fierce. It is also noted that Greek discography has an export dimension with stable markets in Egypt, Sudan, Turkey, and to a lesser extent in Balkan urban centers. Ines proposes dividing the Greek market into four main geo-economic zones based on distribution and social characteristics. First of all, Athens and Piraeus, the wealthiest and most populous area, with strong purchasing power, social diversity, and an appetite for modern Western-influenced repertoire. Secondly, northern Greece with Thessaloniki, economically less robust, with a strong refugee presence and a preference for low-cost products and music with Turkish influences. The region is marked by a bargaining culture and payment insecurity. Third, Western Greece and the Ionian Islands, with Patras and Corfu as centers. A music-loving audience with Italian and Heptanesian influences, moderate financial means, distinct local tastes, and a limited but present need for credit. And four, Thessaly and Volos, a financially stable region with a marked preference for folk repertoire. Commercial success here relies more on personal relationships than on structured market mechanisms. This classification reflects the need for tailored sales and distribution strategies according to geographical zone. Ines includes a comparative table capturing the Greek public's perception of the main record and phonograph manufacturing companies, using criteria such as repertoire, artistic quality, recording volume, record durability and appearance, as well as types of gramophones. Odeon and Colombia dominate both the Greek repertoire and sales, while his master's voice stands out for its quality and association with renowned artists. In the gramophone sector, portable models are most widespread, particularly in rural areas, due to their low cost and the availability of easy credit from competing companies. His master's voice, however, sells only for cash. Decca initially led the market with extremely low-priced models, but Colombia has since taken the lead. In the larger gramophone category, Victor prevails thanks to its powerful sound output, whereas his master's voice retains a reputation for superior quality. Ines estimates that there are at least 60,000 gramophones operating in Greece, with half of them concentrated in and around Athens. Ines provides a detailed account of the key representatives of record companies in interwar Greece. Labropoulos brothers with Colombia operate an extensive network of 1,100 exclusive agents, apply an aggressive pricing and returns policy, offer substantial discounts from 20 to 22%, and maintain organized advertising, although their financial stability is considered fragile. Abravanel Benveniste with Odeon focus on Greek repertoire with timely and successful releases and a network of 1,500 associates. Vlastos with Polydor follows a conservative strategy with a limited catalog but maintains a steady presence. Bruskos with Pate and Kokkonis with Victor have smaller distribution networks but perform well in foreign repertoire and equipment sales. Decca stands out for its aggressive sales tactics involving installment plans, itinerant salesmen, and being the only company offering credit to retailers. Special mention is made of the illegal import of Victor records from the United States by the Dimitriadis brothers. One of them, Tetos Dimitriadis, was responsible for Victor's Greek repertoire in America. Ines concludes his report in an urgent tone, warning that the true challenge is no longer the reorganization or replacement of Kissopoulos, but rather an immediate response to the impending establishment of a rival record factory in Greece. If His Master's Voice does not reduce its prices, he writes, it faces a gradual yet inevitable decline. As a countermeasure, he proposes setting up a small factory near Athens, equipped with 4 presses and supplied with raw materials imported from abroad. He estimates an annual production capacity of at least 100,000 records. Ines's letter stands as a rare and invaluable document, both as a commercial memorandum and as a cultural lens onto the rapidly evolving phonographic landscape of interwar Greece. Beyond its sharp critiques and practical proposals, it offers a uniquely detailed portrait of a regional market shaped by migration, musical pluralism, and infrastructural unevenness. Read today, it not only illuminates the challenges faced by His Master's Voice, but also invites broader reflection on the entanglements of technology, commerce, and cultural production at the margins of the early global recording industry. Thanks very much.